Okay, so now we are going to read book 21. On the virtual text, this is on page 184, or maybe it's 183. One of those, and I will include the text numbers for the graphic novel on your questions. All right, so we already went over what happened in books 18 through 20. So now in this book, we are getting a description of Penelope reaching for Odysseus's bow. We have to kind of get ourselves in the mindset that her husband's been gone for 20 years. She's never stopped loving him. Actually, like physically touching and getting out this weapon that is so symbolic of him is very overwhelming for her. So she's going to the storeroom to get it. And for the first page, it's really just a description of her going through this act. Now the queen reached the storeroom door and halted. Here was an oaken sill, cut long ago and sanded clean and bedded true. Foursquare the door jambs and the shining doors were set by the careful builder. So that was just describing her approaching this room where she knows Odysseus's bow is stored. The door is made out of oak, and she's just staring at the door. Penelope untied the strap around the curving handle, pushed her hook into the slit, aimed at the bolts inside, and shot them back. Then came a rasping sound at those bright doors. The key had sprung gave way to a bellow like a bull's vaunt in a meadow, followed by her light footfall entering over the plank door. So this was an analogy, a simile describing her opening the doors. So when she puts her key in, turns it, the doors give away, and this loud sound like a bull bellowing. So it's supposed to signify that something important is going to happen. When she opens these doors, it's not like, oh, I'm just going to walk to the closet, open the door. It's like, whoa, something is happening. So she opens the door and she walks inside to the storeroom. Herb-scented robes lay there in chest, but the lady's milk-white arms went to lift the bow down from a peg in its own polished bow case. So it's telling us that there's all sorts of wonderful things in the storeroom, but she just wants the bow. Now Penelope sank down, holding the weapon on her knees, and drew her husband's great bow out and sobbed and bit her lip and let the salt tears flow. So she's taking a minute in the storeroom, holding the bow, allowing herself just to cry, doing so in private so that these suitors cannot see her in this state. And then she's going to leave out. She's going to walk out and approach them. Then she went to face the crowded hall, tremendous bow in hand, and on her shoulder hung the quiver spiked with coughing death. So, the quiver, the arrow has a poison on it. So if anyone gets shot with this arrow, they will die. Behind her, maids bore a basket full of axe heads, bronze and iron implements for the master's game. So she's setting up this contest that Odysseus, as the beggar, gave her an idea for, but they have axe heads, and I'll have to find a picture to include on your agenda to show you. But essentially, there's going to be these 12 axe heads, and she's going to ask the suitors to string the bow and then shoot an arrow through these 12 holes. It has to be one shot. Thus, in her beauty, she approached the suitors, and near a pillar of the solid roof, she paused, her shining veil across her cheeks, her maids on either hand, and still. Then she spoke to the banqueteers. So we're supposed to be envisioning this beautiful woman holding a bow, standing. Everyone's paying attention to her because she is the prize. She's what all the men want. And now she's speaking to them. My lords, hear me. Suitors indeed. You commandeered this house to feast and drink in, day and night, my husband being long gone, long out of mind. You found no justification for yourselves, none except your lust to marry me. So she's basically starting by saying, all right, you've taken over my house. You assumed my husband was gone. You're here for no reason other than your lust. You all want me. Stand up then. We now declare a contest for that prize. So she's like, fine, everyone wants me. Great. I'm the prize. Here's a contest. Let's go. Here is my lord Odysseus's hunting bow. Bend and string it if you can. Who sends an arrow through iron axe-helve sockets 12 in line? I join my life with his and leave this place, my home, my rich and beautiful bridal house forever, to be remembered, though I dream it only. So she's like, all right, fine. Here's the contest. I'm the prize. Whoever can string Odysseus's bow and send an arrow through these 12 axe heads, I will leave with you. This house will be a memory. I will be your wife. So now the men have to start trying to accomplish this task. But if we remember back to Odysseus's origin story, he revealed his powers when he was the only person who was able to string this bow. So, as we can imagine, the men are like, yeah, give me a chance. But the suitors can't string the bow. Okay, so despite heating and greasing the bow, so they're like working the wood, because I guess you have to bend it, and no one can string it because they just don't have that strength Odysseus has. Now, the two head suitors that Odysseus had noticed were the most kind of like rude, Antinous and Eurymachus. They're holding off. They are not trying because they're watching the other men struggle, and they're like, okay, if they're the first to go, they don't want to be embarrassed. The suitors are busy with the bow. Odysseus, disguised as the beggar, he goes to find Eumaeus, who is the swineherd, and Philodius, the cowherd. Okay, so he goes and finds these two men to help him. And we're going to pause and answer some questions, and then we will see the thrilling conclusion to this contest.